Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Harold Reeves. He's the Senior Manager of the Regional Portfolio Team for North American Products and Strategy at Zebra Technologies. And Harold, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Scott. Good to be here.
So Harold, you have some pretty new news about Stig compliance and how Stig is working with Zebra. What's changing there? And just remind us a little bit about what Stig is, since this is a world of acronyms sometimes.
Yeah, a secure technology implementation guide, a STIG, is a DoD documentation that helps our customers go in and implement technology on secure networks and in secure configurations. It's a help out for what makes our ready to go products ready to work in a secure environment. So it builds on top of the technology like a FIPS 140-2 certification and a common criteria certification, which Zebra's attained on the portfolio. And now we're able to offer the largest rugged mobile computing offering in the industry in terms of product selection with a STIG to implement with our government and more security conscious customers.
So, working in with that, there's enterprise Android options that you're working with. How are you working with Zebra Technologies with those options? How are you fitting that in with your government contracts as well?
Yeah, from a Zebra perspective, it's about listening to our customers and what they need in terms of enhancements and tuning capabilities and customization. So when we go in and harden the Android operating system, it's with an ear to what makes sense for the deployments that our customers are facing. So when you have a secure network and you have the need to configure or provision a few to 1,000 or tens of thousands of devices, you're going to need some capabilities to do those staging arrangements and the configuration and tuning arrangements with as efficient a team as possible. So one of the things from a Zebra perspective is we'd like to go and take and maneuver the tool set so that it makes the IT teams efficient. It allows them to scale appropriately and not only roll out a new version of hardware or a new version of software to a fleet of devices, but also maintain those devices without having to go and build completely new skill sets and completely new training regimens. So we go in and really look at putting together a suite of tools that extends IT resources while keeping things secure and making things efficient. So we really focus on that part of the ownership and cost experience that may be quite prohibitive to a new product rollout, or maybe slow you down in your calendar versus being quick and ready for you to get your work done and get it out into the hands that need to be efficient with the technology.
Now, when it comes to government warehouses, some of these are on the real tactical edge, and you need mobile devices to make sure that things are working and are getting out as quickly as possible. I mean, recently we've had warehouses in Afghanistan even where soldiers and other military service members have had to get certain spare parts ready, or whatever they need. So what mobile options are out there, especially when there's such a varied environment for these different warehouses?
Scott, it's a great question. And when we look at that, the use cases vary. And you point out correctly that some of our government operations are some of the most time sensitive and critical arrangements for the use case to be matched to the right hardware arrangement and the right network configuration. So when you look at the different hardware options, we may have wearable configurations, we may have handle grip configurations, we may pocket or even extend some of the operations with heads-up displays. All of those configurations become important to match to the use case. If someone needs their hands free to interact or to work with the materials that they're handling, then you just have to drive the efficiency with putting the product in the right spot. It might be holstered, it might be pocketed, it might be on an arm mount or on an arm band. Those are all scenarios that we need to look at and work through, and then add into that. Your reference to Afghanistan is great. Most things probably aren't happening at room temperature. So you've got to need to go and make sure you've got equipment ready to run in freezing to to desert heat, and it's one of those things that's going to differentiate a rugged solution from a consumer grade solution or some of the lesser tuned solutions in the marketplace.
So there's a lot of options out there for people. What makes Android the one that works best for these enterprise sorts of situations?
You know, Android and the way that we take a look at it at Zebra, the Android solution allows us to go and provide configuration capabilities for our customers and the way they deploy. If we think about our consumer experience, and it kind of blends in and takes over our assumptions, and we need to pause those assumptions. In a consumer experience, we have a device that's connected through a carrier. We place it down on the desk or on the nightstand overnight, and we wake up and we've gotten a patch or we've gotten an upgrade, and it's been out of our control. You know, a hardened OS strategy is one that allows the IT staff to be in control. And if you need an aggressive patching strategy, then you need a partner that comes in and brings patches in on a 30-day cadence, or even more aggressive if something happens in the industry. And if you need the ability to pause those, you also need the ability to have that level of control. So from a perspective of IT looking at what's best, you need to step back and look at, we need the ability to maybe patch on a 30-day cadence. In reality, we may only patch every 6 months or a year, or maybe even sometimes less frequently. Every now and then, we may need the ability to roll back. We may actually have something roll out that has a problem. We'd be better off rolling back to a previous version. And so those are all considerations when we look at an enterprise grade strategy for an operating system and the tools that are brought to the IT staff. Those are all considerations that somebody needs to take a look at for the what ifs and how will we perform over the next few years.
So a lot of people have, Androids in their pockets right now. The solutions for a customer when it comes to having an Android and the security implications they have, much different than an enterprise level. Why is it important that the government understands the difference between those? And then what might that security level and security model look like for an enterprise level?
You know, for an enterprise level, we're going to start out at least patching every 30 days, maybe worst case every 90 days, making those patches available. And again, from a consumer perspective and from that, they're going to feel more random. Application patches may come in randomly, and OS patches may not be on the same cadence. An enterprise strategy is going to allow you to bundle those things together and to put in place a calendar and a control that allows those things to be tested, validated, and rolled out. When we look at the needs for our government, there's going to be needs to go back and potentially retune or reprovision. There's certificates and usually more complex security solutions that are involved. You may need to even use a common access card, a CAC card, for example. And so you need to be able to go and tune the solution, whatever device you pick. You need to be able to go and tune the solutions, roll users off and on, potentially wipe devices back to a pre-known level or a factory reset. All those things need to be able to be accomplished without necessarily having to recall the units and touch them in an office. There's just a number of things that come into an enterprise grade strategy when you step back and think about what would we like to be able to do as the device is already positioned in the field, and what would we need to be able to do worst case under certain situations. And a strong enterprise provider of equipment will allow you to go in and plan for those worst case scenarios and give you a key to solving those problems without having to recall devices or touch them for minutes or hours at a time, or create logistics issues servicing the devices nearly while they're in service.
So for a long time, Windows has been the lingua franca of government. Really, what sort of challenges might a government agency face in migrating really from Windows to the mobile Android applications?
Great question, Scott. And there's kind of a couple of tiers of Windows when we talk about this. So, the legacy warehouse and operations and rugged mobile computing operating system, those were all based on Windows CE. You might have heard Windows Mobile and things like that. And the legacy support for that operating system, the Microsoft support for Windows CE, That's all been deprecated now. And while there may be compensating controls and things that we can do to keep those units in operation, there's no way to patch them. There's no way to go and keep those in operation. So moving to a modern Android, like a Android 10 or newer configuration with our Stig that we talked about earlier, those are going to give you an architecture that's got a privilege-based concept. It's got some things that'll resonate with even desktop IT type management scenarios, and we'll be able to go through and really step up our security game with the modernized operating system approach. I'd also just want to call out that we see Windows in tablets in a larger form factor arrangement, and so there are scenarios where we can create mobility with Windows, but with an Android operating system in tablets that's got a Stig and got the ability to go in and be configured, and you've got some really great cost differentiators too when you go into your deployment to go and compare. Is it easier to deploy with Windows in a modern OS, or are you able to contemplate using Android and maybe even reducing some cost to go ahead and get extremely rugged devices out and deployed for specific use cases?
Well, Harold, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Scott, thanks for the opportunity to visit today.
Harold Reeves is the Senior Manager of the Regional Portfolio Team for North America Products and Strategy at Zebra Technologies. I'm your moderator, Scott Massioni. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search Zebra.